Thanks to those joining me live and to those that be joining me on archive. I am being joined by a Haplotype. What's going on, Haplotype?
Not much, man. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me on. It's a good night.
Absolutely,
Lots
definitely.
to talk about.
Yeah, look at this. Look at that. Sharpie. All right. We got the Sharpie. Long story, I lost my Sharpie. That's why the show is delayed. I couldn't find my Sharpie and had to do the notes. All right. Haplotype, are you nuts? What do you mean because you don't have a Sharpie? Use a pen. Like, no.
No, I said you lost a Sharpie. And
Yeah.
You couldn't find it.
Yeah. So I said, I'm not going to use a pen. I refuse to do the show with a pen. Right. Anyway, it was something else. But in all seriousness, thanks to those that waited patiently. But you always have archive. And I would assume you would be on here anyway at this time. Okay. So thanks to those that tune in live, 10 p.m. Eastern time. But like I've always said, it could always be a little later, and stuff like that because life happens. John in the house. What's good? Okay. Make sure you jab that like button. Okay, we listen live or archive. All right, and just make sure you do that. It says it right there, right? And by the way, if you like the content, make sure you subscribe. Okay, and I'm not just pointing at an ass. I'm just saying subscribe. Okay. With that said, this is your daily reminder that this is Roy Jones Jr. Appreciation Week.
Y'all must have forgot.
Okay, y'all must have forgot. I think a lot of you forgot. So don't forget, this is Roy Jones Jr. Appreciation Week. But apparently nobody forgot because he dominated the polls. All right, dominated the Eliminator and he dominated the championship polls. Speaking of polls, there's a poll up right now with Morales. We have Hopkins. We got Winky Wright, who just advanced to the championship poll after he dominated last week in the Eliminator, finally advancing. And, of course, we have Miguel Cotto in his third week. Many consider him the favorite right now, but he's a little behind. And so someone's ahead right now, but there you go. Who do you vote for, Haplo?
I voted for Morales. I really want him to win so we can give him a week.
It'll be a terrible week. Yeah.
A terrible week? Why? Oh, El Terrible. Okay.
That's right. Come on now.
I'm a little slow right now, but yeah, it'll be good.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of people are going to be, why is it a terrible week?
Terrible in a good way.
Terrible in a good way. Like we're going to, you know how they made bad good? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to make terrible good, okay?
That's good.
Wasn't Terry Norris, wasn't his nickname Terrible? Terrible?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Terry Norris and Morales, man, they're going to turn terrible to good. All right. With that said, and that's another guy at some point. It's an appreciation week, but we haven't gotten there yet. Right. And I also have an announcement because we need two guys for the Eliminator. I'm announcing one right now, Haplotype. I'm announcing it right now.
Big announcement. Drum roll.
Okay, and this one's for. I'm gonna give you a clue. You ready for the clue?
Yeah.
This is for Mr. Boxing Today.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so you know it's heavyweight. Right? And he's the real deal.
Oh, man. I know who it is already.
Go ahead. Say it.
Evander Holyfield.
That's right. Shout out to Chance Smoke in the house. What's going on? Make sure you guys throw a jab. Throw a jab at the like button. John says hit the like button, and I've been subscriber for 8 months. Well, good to have you on here, man. Didn't you say you were a subscriber for years the last time I saw you? Maybe it was somebody else. Maybe it was another John. AJ10 in the house, the official fact checker. So make sure you don't say anything inaccurate, Haplotype. Because he'll fact check.
I'll be careful. AJ10's gonna have a lot of boxing knowledge after all the fact checking he does.
Most definitely, and I gotta tell you, man. Okay, John asking will the PBC recognize their fighters with 3 belts minus the WBO belt as undisputed? They can, but I'm not. I gotta be honest. That's a longer story, but I don't care what PBC says. I gotta be honest with you guys. Everybody knows that Crawford is a champion at 140. Everybody knows that. Okay. The guy that beat Pacquiao, he beat him. You're going to call Pacquiao a champion? Right? Boxing Dialogue, Evander No Ear Holyfield. Oh my God. I can't wait because you know Evander Holyfield's going to advance. You know that, right? at
I
some
think
point.
he will. I'm surprised he's being nominated so soon because I thought we were waiting a little bit to get to the older guys. But I
Well,
guess his career continued.
he
You
just
know,
retired like in 2011.
yeah. I forget. I
Yeah,
often forget that he fought Valuev and all those guys
he
later
should
in
have
his
won that
career.
fight.
He should have won that
Should
fight,
have won
and then
it.
he would have been. I think
The
would he have
oldest.
would he have beaten Foreman's record?
He
Yeah.
would have. It wouldn't have been the lineal championship, but he would have technically have broken it. It was a belt, right? With that said, the other guy, because Frotch has been, I don't know if you know this Haplotype, he's been eliminated 6 straight. He survived 6 weeks, but he never won the poll, so he's
Sorry,
done.
Calix.
It's unfortunate for him.
It's a sad day for Calix.
And
Sorry,
I
buddy.
could say he'll be added in the future, but let's be honest, guys. The farther back we go, man, there's going to be some legends on those bowls. So I don't know if he'll ever advance.
I think he has a chance to come back like later when we start running out of guys.
Yeah, prop. Well, I don't know. We'll run out of guys, bro. Boxing is in 100 years, and we're out of guys.
Saying, I'm expecting the show to go on.
I'm gonna have gray hair and shit. We're gonna run out of guys.
10 years down the road, maybe.
Yeah, probably. Lord willing, we'll be around in 10 years, but definitely be on the lookout for that. I got another guy since Winky advanced. We got to fill up another guy for Eliminator. If you have any suggestions, you let me know. Okay. All right. No Boxing Dollar. We're not going to nominate wives. All right. Although she is hot. I got to give her that.
Wait,
with that
whose wife?
Frotch's wife.
Oh, yeah.
But hey, make sure you guys subscribe, by the way. Okay. All right. But I want to say this before we continue to what we're going to talk about. Make sure you guys vote on the polls. We only got like 50 votes right now, I think. We need at least 80 votes for there to be an appreciation week. All right. And I'm not joking. If we don't get to 80 votes, I'm not going to do another appreciation week. We'll have another poll and we'll see what happens. Okay. So we need the votes. Okay. So you guys got to go. Look at this. I wrote it down with a Sharpie. All right. Okay. You got to go to can you see that Haplotype?
Get a little closer.
Yeah.
There you go. Right there.
All right. Make sure you guys go to that website. All right. All right. Go to youtube.com/DStyleBoxing/community and go vote. You got 4 badass fighters there that you can vote for that recently retired. All right. Aplo, what are your thoughts, man? Ramirez versus Hooker. If I was on the zone, what do you think of that fight?
Well, fuck the zone, but the fight was great. I love that fight. I was excited. You got me excited about it, actually. I wasn't really, it wasn't in the front of my mind until you mentioned it to me and had me look into it a little bit. But I was really excited, and the fight delivered. I thought it gave all the drama that you could ever want in a fight like that. I believe they unified, right? There was
WBC and WBO, yeah.
Yeah. So that's great. I love seeing unification fights. Those are my favorite fights. And it went, luckily for me, exactly the way I sort of expected it to. And I was getting a little nervous there at certain points when Hooker was winning a round or two. But even in the rounds that he won, I was noticing him giving up his height. And I was like, even though he's winning the rounds, I'm saying like, Ramirez is going to win this fight. And then he did. And I was just like, wow, it was very exciting. I really enjoyed it.
You fair stoppage? You think it was a little premature? Are you okay with the stoppage?
I think it was understandable given what happened the weekend prior. He landed some big shots, and I do think the guy was done. So I was okay with the stoppage. Normally I would have been like, okay, let it go a few more seconds. But given what's been going on, like, I know why they stopped it like that. And I think he was out. He was out on his feet, regardless of whether they let him fall down or not.
Yeah,
he was done.
I think it was a good stop. He got caught with a nice hook, right hand, and then hook, right hand again. And then against the ropes, man, Ramirez hit him with a vicious right hand.
It's those jazz musician combos, man.
Yeah.
You never know what's coming next.
Yeah, very, very fluid, definitely. I like this bobbing and weaving. You see that? It looked really good. Right,
a guy can offset a lot of straight punches if he's good at bending at the waist. And then he has, with guys who have set combos like Amir Khan,
Yeah.
he's gonna throw bop 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 boom boom, and every time you know, you can plan for that. But a guy who varies up his punches the way Ramirez does is a very dangerous individual.
Yeah. What do you think of his work when he had Hooker pin against the ropes? What do you think Hooker could have done better as well? But as far as what Ramirez did, did you like his inside work there? Do you think he could have
Oh
done
yeah,
something?
I thought Ramirez's inside work was great. Hooker, if I was Hooker, I would have tried to hold the elbows
Yeah.
down. If you press against someone's elbows, they can't throw those combinations unless they pop out of it. So you got to hold the elbows and then push one elbow in and spin out to the side and let the guy be, forced into the ropes, and then you turn him around and throw a combo. But he didn't know that trick.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would have been very useful for him. And Boxing Dialogue, I'm sorry, G Funk, I'm sorry, 84 says fight of the year candidate in his opinion. I don't know if it's a fight of the year candidate, but it's definitely a very good fight. I enjoyed the fight. I think it ended a little too early to be the fight of the year, in my opinion, but good fight nonetheless. So don't let that take it away from. I thought it was a good fight. AJ 10, he nominates Ricky. Ricky hadn't already got eliminated, bro. He got 5% of the vote last time I put him on there. I could maybe give Ricky another shot. I could give him another shot. We'll see. Boxing Dialogue, Robert Garcia, trainer of the decade. I don't know about that. I mean, that's something we would have to think about. I don't know. But AJ 10, damn, you are right, says AJ. Yeah. You forgot about Ricky. Nobody forgot about Roy, but everybody forgot about Ricky, right?
Yeah, I think Ricky just didn't do enough later in his career. He was ballooning up in weight too much.
Yeah.
He didn't last long enough.
Yeah. I mean, it's still, he still had some good stuff in there. Like he beat up Paulie, which is always fun, right?
Costa Zoo is his big
Yeah.
claim to fame.
Oh yeah. The Katsu fight, although he got away with a lot in that fight. Like they could have had a Greco-Roman wrestler in there with Katsu, and the ref would have never broken it up. Okay, but with that said, Devontae Davis versus Nunes, the guy from Panama, second round stoppage. What do you think of that fight? Do you think the stoppage was premature?
Maybe a little bit. Although, Davis was dominating. He was going to win that fight anyway. So I'm not that mad about it. But yeah, I thought that stoppage was a bit premature. It was really a showcase fight for Davis, clearly. They made a big deal about him fighting in his hometown, Baltimore, and they were giving all the history of Baltimore and the champions that fought there. So that's when they do that, it's a showcase fight, and so I'm not surprised that they stopped it a little early, but I think he was going to win that fight regardless.
I agree. I do feel it's going to win regardless. However, I still think there was maybe even it was a 5%, 10% shot that Nunes, who was a puncher, could have still caught Davis and maybe made something interesting. Kind of like when Torres had his moment against Cotto back in the day.
Yeah.
But it's not Cotto Appreciation Week yet, right? But, just saying.
Right. They could have definitely given him a little bit more of a chance.
But what do you think of his fail? Because a lot of fighters with these fails, what I mean by that is when they're like he had, I don't know if you know what, his cocky grin, like when he thought he had Davis kind of held, and he's just like, and then he just he gets.
It's always bad. It's always bad when someone starts showboating and then gets caught. It's fun to watch, but that guy, it's not a good thing.
And then Gamboa, Rocky Martinez, Gamboa put him down. It was a really good performance by Gamboa, but it was more like a confidence builder. That his last 3 fights have been confidence builders. I think that's a perfect way to put him, in my opinion. What did you think of that performance?
Yeah, I don't like to see confidence builders against Puerto Rican fighters, but Rocky Martinez, to me, has always been sort of a journeyman, a glorified journeyman. He's always losing in big fights, and They brought him in there as like he's a tough, hard nosed dude, but he just doesn't have the physical gifts of a Gamboa to be able to compete on that level.
I agree. So somebody talking about putting James Tony in there. That's definitely someone already in mind.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, Sergio Martinez. I have a feeling he's gonna he's been talking about a comeback, and that's not someone I want to put yet. Boxing now, like Tom Davis, arguably pound for pound the hardest puncher in sport. You could definitely make that argument. A lot of people talk about Inoue, but I think Davis is probably a better pound for pound puncher than him. I don't know what do you think about that, Haplotype.
Yeah,
there's no way to know.
I put Davis over Inoue, but yeah, I don't think either one of them is the hardest puncher in the sport.
Yeah, 88 Sports Talk says Rocky looked like he was not interested in fighting. Yeah, he looked out of his league is what he looked. And Gamboa looked a little flat-footed.
When he went down, he pounded on the canvas. And, he has heart. That's one thing I will not take away from Martinez. He definitely has heart, but he just doesn't have the physical talent and the gifts of a Gervonta Davis.
Yeah, or Gamboa.
Or Gamboa.
Yeah, now there's talks about Gamboa fighting Davis. Now, Gamboa's at 135 right now, I believe. So I don't know if Davis would have to move up or if Gamboa would move down, or that would be a good idea. But nonetheless, and regardless of weight class, if Davis fights Gamboa, you think Gamboa could surprise some people? You think people are overlooking Gamboa?
That's a tough call. If he was a little younger, I'd say yeah. It's just he's 37 now, and little guys tend to age quicker than the bigger guys. So I would probably favor Davis if they fight.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think something tells me that it's the wrong decision for them to put him in there against Davis. I think there's some winnable fights there for Gamboa. Like put him in there against Nunes. I'm the guy that just lost Davis, and put him in there against some, Pedraza or something like that.
He needs to be more active.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he does. That's for sure.
Against a top fighter.
Yeah, I don't know if he's ready yet for that. And not that he's not ready talent-wise, but just mentally, And but if they make the fight, I do. So while it lasts, it'll be a hell of a fight while it lasts. But Gamboa looking a little flat-footed, in my opinion. He looked a little flat-footed in that fight. It could have been just because he just felt he was just going to counter Martinez and all that, but we will see. And yes, AJ10, I do feel he lost some explosiveness as well. That could be due to now being in a higher weight class as well. He's hitting bigger guys, but nonetheless, I do see that as well.
And the age.
And the age. The 140C, man, we have Josh Taylor over there, in Scotland, right? Mm-hmm. By the way, a lot of people talking about Josh Taylor being in the UK. And while technically Scotland's in the UK, like a lot of these Scots, don't like being, they want you to recognize him as a dude from Scotland, all right? So, like let them have their due, right? So Josh Taylor from Scotland, Regis Prograis from New Orleans. By the way, like Calic said, he'll beat anybody because he's from New Orleans, right? Wow. Right? Jose Ramirez. From California, right? He's from your state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm backing him against everybody.
You think he beats Josh Taylor or Regis Prograis?
I think he can.
Think he can? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he might have an easier time with Taylor, I think, just based on styles. But, Prograis, to me, is the toughest guy right now, the toughest out in the division.
Oh, yeah.
With 24, wins, 20 by KO. That's a great record. But you know what? We've seen guys like that go down before, and I really like Ramirez.
Okay. Yeah, Ramirez, let me tell you, man, a lot of people are sleeping on Ramirez, man.
I think so, too.
I hear a lot of people just assuming that he loses to Prograis or Taylor. But I think when I look at the matchups, first of all, I think people are sleeping on Josh Taylor, right? And that's right, AJ10. A lot of people equate England with UK. And maybe that's why people from Scotland are like, yo, we'll chill with the UK. So it's all right, cool. right? But Josh Taylor, bro, um, and I don't think people are overlooking him in terms of not recognizing his talent. It's just many are just assuming Progress is going to win that fight, and I think it's dangerous to think that way. I think Josh Taylor stands an excellent shot at beating Progress. In fact, I'm actually picking him to win that fight. I think he's going to win
Really?
the fight. Yeah,
That could happen, though. I think for Prograis, that Josh Taylor is a tough style matchup, being that he's a southpaw and all that.
yeah. I mean, look, Josh Taylor, man. Yes, he is a southpaw. And,
Prograis is a southpaw too, but people forget that southpaws are more used to fighting right-handed guys too.
yeah,
So anybody, it's more difficult to fight a southpaw usually.
man. I will say now. First, I just want to respond to 88 Sports Talk. Wilder's the hardest puncher in boxing. The way you can tell is grazing shots when he barely catches the guy. And look, obviously he's the hardest puncher in boxing. Period. Right? I mean, if we remove the pound for pound, obviously he's the hardest puncher. You know what I mean? But pound for pound, you could definitely make an argument as well, just because you're right. Wilder puts guys to sleep. He drops guys, and even if they get up, they're like wobbly and just not all there. So you can definitely he has a game changer punch. But I think these other guys like Gervonta Davis has an argument as well. But I hear you. Um, but I don't think heavyweights need the pound for pound concept. I just don't. Now I'm speaking for myself, not for Haplotype, but I don't put heavyweights on pound for pound talk. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because there's
I
no need to say,
understand that.
yeah.
I am the opposite of you in that regard.
Okay.
I think that pound for pound is pound for pound, and it's meant for um, people to be able to compare guys at lower weights to the heavyweights. So I don't think they should be completely excluded, but that's just me, and I
Right.
completely understand your point of view as well.
Yeah. I mean, this is because the heavyweight champion of the world is the best fighter in the world. If you
Right,
remove pound for pound, like if we got rid of all weight classes and all the same boxers were still boxing, the heavyweight champion would be the best fighter. You know what I mean?
right.
Maybe the cruiserweight champion, maybe a light heavyweight somewhere, but it'll likely be the heavyweight champ. And that's just how I feel. But it's not, you can't go wrong with it. You know what I mean? It's subjective. Um, Now, that's it. Josh Taylor, although this is how I feel. Even though I feel Josh Taylor beats Regis Prograis, although I'm not counting Regis out, don't get me wrong. Any of those guys can win that fight. But I'm favoring
Right.
Taylor, all right? I think Regis beats Ramirez. Okay? Um
You think?
he,
Wait. What did you say?
Regis Prograis beats Ramirez.
You think so?
But there's a but. Now, first of
Okay.
all, again, none of these fights are guarantees. I think any of these guys could beat any of these guys. All right. But I think Ramirez beats Taylor. I think Ramirez beats Taylor. I think
Okay.
he'll have Taylor on his back foot, and Taylor needs to be on his front foot. He's vicious there, but I mean Ramirez is not going to be in the pocket mid range boxing with these guys. You know what I mean? Like he's going to put pressure on these guys, and not that he won't be in the pocket, but he'll box enough. But he's mainly going to be putting a lot of pressure on these guys, pushing them against the ropes. They're going to have to be moving a lot, and I think he'll have Taylor on his back foot. I think Regis will handle that a little better than Taylor. So that's what I think. I think there's a triangle theory here. You know,
Could be. You might be very right about that.
a lot of these look. That's just my opinion. How do you see those three matchups going with those guys?
I'm really high on Ramirez right now. I'm really liking his style. I think he has a great skill set. I'm gonna say I pick him to beat both of the guys.
Okay.
I just think his being able to improvise combos, and as a musician, I studied music in college, so I understand jazz. And when guys have a set punch pattern, you can negate that. But when a guy's throwing, constantly changing up his combos, it's very difficult to play defense against a guy like that. So I think Ramirez, he's from California. I'm backing him for right now.
Okay. What about the Josh Taylor Regis Progress fight between those two? What do you
Oh
favor?
God, in that fight, I would probably favor Regis slightly.
Okay. We're going to get to that, Alex Alberto, in a moment. Boxing Dialogue, two southpaws fighting always looks weird to me. It always looks weird to me, too. Um, for some reason, I don't know what it is, but you adjust to it. Like after round two, you kind of adjust to it. AJ10, don't put heavyweights in the pound for pound rankings. Now, when I don't know if you guys have caught, whenever I do two southpaws, I've done I think two fights. I always say the right hand when the guy throws the left.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
and
hard not to do
and
that.
I catch myself like almost in the second, third round. Sorry, left hand, just because they're marrying each other, and you're just used to that. You know what I mean? Um, I always found that funny. Tax tag Jose Ramirez looked good because Hooker fought exactly like Jose wanted him to. I argue I argue that the game plan got Hooker in that position, but you know, I think Hooker had some plans. They just, like Mike Tyson said, everything changes when you get punched in the face. Joe Lopez 40 ounce. Hopefully, we can get an undisputed champ at 140. I agree 100%. 88 Tyler Ramirez can fight. Absolutely. 130 and 135, but many 130 here. Haplotype. There's Davis and Tevin Farmer are the two main guys I want to kind of focus on here because they both fought yesterday.
Right.
Tevin Farmer had it's not his fault, but his opponent just wasn't committing to anything. It's made for a
Yeah, not
horrible
a good
fight.
fight. Yeah.
But the Farmer fight, nonetheless, he won, and then Davis. How do you see that particular? Is that a fight you like to see, or would you
Oh,
rather see someone fight?
absolutely. Any unifications, I'm down. And
Okay.
I would love to see those two guys fight. The way they looked or this weekend, I would say I would favor Davis
Okay.
between the two right now. But the problem with Davis is he parties. You know, so
Right.
I hope that if he was fighting Farmer, that he would take that really seriously and train hard the way he did for this past fight this past weekend. So,
Right.
in that case, assuming that Davis trains hard, I would favor Davis.
Yeah. I think Davis, um, Farmer is a really good fight, but what separates them, one is obviously the power. Um, and I don't know if Farmer can make Davis miss as much as make some other guys miss. And Farmer can get hit, which was surprising to me with this his previous opponent that I felt he could hit him a little bit. But I would favor Davis in that fight. I think he knocks out Farmer in the late rounds.
Yeah, that would probably be the same prediction I would make.
And yeah, I agree with Tax Tack. Let me prove the comment. I don't know why that's. I guess because he said shitty, like YouTube's like withholding it. But anyway, the shitty call by the ref put Jose Ramirez behind the eight ball, the fake knockdown call. Now here's what I will say. Okay, I understand the argument that he was knocked down, so it changed the complexity of the fight because he was down 2 points. That's not true, right? And let me explain to you guys why. Right, Haplotype without knockdowns, how many rounds do you have to win a 12-round fight?
7.
7, right? Well, what does that score like? 115, 113?
Yep.
Okay. With one knockdown, with 7 rounds won, you still win. Okay. You win 114, 113, but you still win. Like, you still have to win 7 rounds without knockdowns to win the fight. With one knockdown doesn't change that, guys. And there's a misconception that it does. What the knockdown gives you is that if you have even rounds, like 6 rounds apiece, right? Then instead of a draw, you get the win. But in my opinion, if Tevin Farmer was going to win at least 7 rounds in this fight, which what he had to win regardless to win, right? The knockdown didn't change that. So I just want to say now, of course, yes, the ref totally blew that call. Well, without a shadow of a doubt, he blew that call. I remember he went down and I didn't call a punch. And I was like, well, what the hell just happened? And so I agree with you. I saw it when it happened, but definitely. It was a bad call. I just don't agree that it changed Tater's mindset and not Tater. I'm sorry, Hooker. Hooker's mind. How many times did I say Tater? Did I say Tater a couple times? But anyway, I don't think it changed Hooker's mindset. I just don't. I think the fight would have ended up the same way. That's just my opinion. Hooker had some really good rounds in there, and I don't know if that changed anything at all. With that said, 130 man, or 135. You think Davis is, because that's the one fight everyone's kind of clamoring for. You think Davis is ready for a Vasil Lomachenko?
I think the advantage Davis would have against Lomachenko would be power.
Right.
I've always felt that Lomachenko's power, and I feel like he may be one of these guys that we talk about that benefits from the orthopedic gloves. I think his hands aren't that good in terms of holding up to, throwing all the punches that he throws. He's also getting older. He's had a ton of amateur fights. I mean, there may be a time, the more time that goes by, let me put it that way, the better chance that Davis will have, given that he stays fit and that he doesn't, party too much and stuff like that. At this moment in time, if they were to fight tomorrow, I would say Lomachenko. But, it's getting a little bit more even as time goes by, as to who I would pick. The more time that goes by, again, I'll reiterate, the better chance I think Davis will have.
Right. Most definitely, man. Let me just put here, vote on the polls. Okay, there we go. Anyway, vote on the championship poll. That'll be the next appreciation week. And I absolutely agree, man. Davis, that power is definitely that one thing that you have to look at. The most depth.
The difference.
And Davis is really talented as well, right? So he has some natural talent. Lomachenko, to right now, like July 29th of 2019, right now, I don't know if he's ready. I can't say that, like, without a shadow of doubt. And do you have any?
If I'm Lomachenko, I'm trying to fight him right away. Now, get it out of the way.
Get it out of the way ASAP, right?
Yep.
What about Comey, Richard Comey? You think? First of all, I think that's a hell of a fight. But Richard Comey against Gervonta Davis.
That's a tough one. I would pick Davis right now, just based on this last performance.
Right. Yeah. Now, tax I did say Linares barely touched Loma and he felt like a ton of bricks. Tank would knock him. Dude, he caught him with a nice punch, bro. Come on. Okay, let's not. It wasn't like a little pity pat shot. That was a well-placed punch.
Is no slouch.
Right. He caught him with a really good shot. Now, I agree. If Tank catches him with that same shot, first of all, you have to set up that shot. And Linares is no slouch, like Haplotype said. Yes, I agree. Loma would be in bigger trouble without a shadow of a doubt. But it wasn't a pity pat shot now. Okay, that was a hell of a shot. Marcus down 3 times in the first against Pacquiao and got a draw. Absolutely. I still feel Marcus lost that fight, but, Loma by TKO's in 92 AKU. I don't know. Tack, y'all sleeping on Tank's skill set. He's fast and hell, too. No, he's fast as hell. He's really well skilled. I think he needs like another year or two to fight Loma. And you know what? I think Floyd Mayweather agrees because he said it himself, so.
Well, I mean, we can't be sleeping on the skill set if we're saying that we think Davis has a good chance against Loma.
He does.
We're just saying that right now Loma's got more experience and he's still kind of in his prime, where Tank is sort of just building up. If Tank times it right, he'll win. If Loma times it right, he'll win. That's my opinion on that.
Yeah. It's a hell of a fight, man. Hell of a fight. Was that right-handed? Not as landed a big punch, dude. It was a well-placed punch, bro. That was a. It
was the timing of it. It was shocking. Yeah. It was shocking.
I mean, Loma, he didn't look shook. It wasn't
the biggest punch ever, but it was well-timed. And he caught him, at the right angle, and he went down.
Yeah. Lomachenko by UD, says AJ10. We will see. Shout out
I
to
think
Black
right
Fight Fan
now I'd
TV,
agree
by the
with AJ
way.
10.
I feel like I'm getting ganged up here. Where's Black Fight Fan when you need him? Okay, anyway. Man, you know what? I'll be honest. I don't know if I know a bigger Lomachenko fan than Black Fight Fan TV. Like, but
Really?
yeah, that dude.
Yeah.
Man,
You're a
like,
pretty big Loma fan.
yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm that big of a fan. But with that said, um, it's interesting. I still think Loma is the king. Now, somebody, how many fights has Loma had? I mean, he fought Salido in the second fight, which he lost.
Well, I
But
mean, it's
yeah,
deceiving because he has very few fights
yeah,
as a pro.
right,
But I mean, he's got crazy amount of amateur fights, so
right,
it balances out.
right. I agree. And I mentioned earlier today because look, July 29th of 2019. I mentioned it earlier, but man, nothing happened in boxing today. But I'm just wondering what happened in the history of boxing on July 29th of 2000 of any year.
Oh my God, man, so much. This is a big day in boxing history, July 29th. Uh, I'll just start at the beginning. In 1870, George Dixon was born. Now, if you don't know who George Dixon is, he was the first black champion of any weight class. He's, considered by some to be the greatest featherweight to ever do it. He was actually Canadian born, so Joe Gans was the first black American champion, and he was a lightweight champion. But anyway, George Dixon, great fighter. If you're interested in boxing history, I recommend doing some research on him. And that was he was born on this day in 1870. On this day in 1927, Freddie Welsh died. Great fighter. Fought the likes of Benny Leonard, lost, and that's where Benny Leonard got his title. Just thought I'd mention Benny when I get a chance. But Freddie Welsh had a great career, also well worth looking up if you're interested in boxing history. And on this day in 1941, Freddie Cochran wins a 15-round fight against Fritzy Zivik, winning the welterweight title in 1941. And Zivik lost his world welterweight title in a 15-round decision against Cochran. Um, and that was pretty significant at the time. Zivik had a late comeback attempt in the fight, but it was not enough to get it done. And Cochran beat Zivik, who was probably one of the dirtiest fighters of all time. In 1956, Teddy Atlas was born. And if you're a fireman, you'll appreciate that. On this day in 1957, Floyd Patterson KOs Tommy Jackson in New York City to retain the world heavyweight title. 1971, Alfredo Marcano KOs Hiroshi Kobayashi to win the WBA super featherweight title. In 1978, Natomi Vora Singh KOs Luis Estaba for the junior flyweight title. 1979, Yoko Gushiken wins over Rafael Pedroza and retains the WBA junior flyweight title. In 1981, Kool Ho Kim KOs Willie Jensen, retains the WBC super flyweight title. In 1982, Hiro Watanabe KOs Gustavo Ballas and retains the super flyweight title. A lot of super flyweight fights on this date. 1988, Lloyd Hunnigan KOs Yu Kiel Chung in Atlantic City and retaining the WBA welterweight title, while on the same card, Tomas Molinares KOs Marlon Starling in a very controversial fight. So that one is pretty important because they were trying to set up a fight between Marlon Starling, a unification between Marlon Starling and Lloyd Hunnigan, but it all went sour when Tomas Molinares won. However, Molinares' KO punch clearly landed after the bell, ending the 6th round. So, not a good result for Marlon Starling. He kind of got robbed of that and a big payday. He did go on to beat Lloyd Hunnigan later, but it took a little bit more time than it probably should have. 1989 on this day, Koshai Galaxy KOs Albert Castro in Thailand to retain the WBA super flyweight title. Wow, it's a big super flyweight day. On this day in 1990, Jeff Lampkin KOs Cesar Mak. No way I'm going to pronounce that, to retain the IBF cruiserweight title. It's Makatini. 1990, Michael Carbajal KOs Munga Chen. God, these names are crazy. Kitakasem to win the the IBF junior flyweight title. In 1994, James Toney KOs Charles Williams to retain the IBF super middleweight title. That's relevant because it was James Toney's last defense before he fought Roy Jones, which we'll be talking about pretty soon. In 1994, Oscar De La Hoya KOs Jorge Paez in the 2nd round in Las Vegas, and that was Oscar De La Hoya at the peak, of his powers at 135. In 1995, on this day, Danny Romero KOs Miguel Martinez to retain the IBF flyweight title. In 2000, Costa Zoo KOs Julio Cesar Chavez and basically ends his career, even though Chavez went on to go fight a few more times, and he retains the super lightweight title of the WBC. In 2002, well, I'll leave it at that because that was the last major fight, but the last two were sort of not as major. But anyway, on this day in boxing history, a lot happened, as you can see.
Man, this is loaded. Man, I remember that Paez knockout, bro. Like he got slept.
Yeah, it was
right?
bad.
Right, that was this day in boxing history, given to you by Haplotype. Okay, I declare this day Super Flyweight Day. Like they should have a Super Flyweight fight every maybe there is and we don't know about it. Like the 29th of.
Who knew that July. The Super Flyweight division on July 29th? And tomorrow's my birthday. If I want to fight super flyweight, I'm gonna have to lose a few pounds.
Yeah, I don't know about that. You're gonna have to go on Jenny Craig or something. All right. Make sure you guys throw a jab. We got 20 people on here, 16 likes. Let's get to those 20 likes. All right. And shout out to Scrapbook Boxing. I think he heard somebody talking about boxing history. He just popped up. Like, what, I heard something.
What's up, Scrapbook?
Make sure you guys subscribe to Scrapbook Boxing. Box Dollar, I never knew until recently that George Paez is extremely popular. Man, he is. Jorge Paez, bro. El Maro Mero Paez, bro. That's how we called him. All right. Definitely very popular in Texas for sure. Was he big in California?
Oh, yeah. Well liked in California.
And happy birthday to Haplotype. All right. Everybody, give me a like for Haplotype's birthday. All right. Like, there you go.
Thank you.
And for his birthday, go vote on the post. All right. I'm gonna post the link again. That's the link. Scroll down, vote on the poll. Let's get to those 80 likes so we can actually have an appreciation week. All right. It'll be the first appreciation week that doesn't meet the threshold. All right. So let's get there. All right. 92 AKU. I'm throwing a Danny Garcia no lift hook to that like button. Oh, there you go. No look hook. No look Cook Garcia. I don't know. Did he get that from me? I used to say that. No look Cook Garcia. But anyway, AJ10. Shout out to Haplotype 88 Sports. But then I stopped using it when he beat Matisse. But anyway, 88 Sports Talk. Happy birthday to Haplo. You know what this week is?
I think I do.
What is
Roy Jones Jr. Appreciation Week, sir.
that? Is right. Okay, it is Roy Jones Jr. Appreciation Week. Nobody forgot. Yeah, no, nobody. Right?
Nobody forgot. Yeah.
Absolutely. Make sure you post in the chat your favorite Roy Jones Jr. moments. I want to hear what you say. Before we get started, I just want to go over this really quick. I put a post earlier in the week. I'm going to go to look at that. I'm going to the community page where you guys should be going. There's the poll. Go vote on the poll. Okay, we're at 49 votes right now. Morales is in the lead with 39%. Okay, Hopkins on his 4th week. He's close to elimination actually. Miguel Cotto in his 3rd week. All right, and then Ronald Wright debuting there. So where you guys have voted for Ronald Wright, he needs you in the main poll. All right. If you scroll down, I have another poll, not a poll, but a question here. All right. And it says it's official Roy Jones Jr. week. Okay. What is your favorite Roy Jones Jr. in ring performance? All right. See that? So you could post it on that post, right? Or you can just put it in the chat right now. So I want to read over some of them here, if you don't mind, Haplotype.
Not at all.
Okay. Kalanima says James Toney because at the time James Toney was whooping everybody. The rematch with Montel Griffins is G-Funk 84 boxing. Batman Tweed just said he knew he would win. Joe Ho says it's got to be James Toney. 2 undefeated Lions of their weight class going head to head. D Low 404 boxing says Montel Griffin rematch. Scrapbook Boxing, my favorite Roy Jones performer was the Toledo fight at Radio City Music Hall. I was their 5th row. Ref Arthur Mercante, okay, and it was Roy Jones Jr.'s birthday eve. And it was SRS 90th birthday. SRS. I'm thinking. Do you know what that is, Haplotype?
Maybe he meant to put Sugar Ray Robinson, SRR.
Okay, could be. If Scrapbook is still there, you can clarify.
Maybe you might know someone else that I'm not aware of.
Right.
SRS.
Yeah.
He's an OG.
Yeah, Alexis Pud. My favorite Roy Jones Jr. fight is the John Ruiz for the heavyweight title. And was that the WBO or WBA? I forget. Manny got with John Ruiz.
WBA, I believe.
WBA. Okay, and Manny Gatillo just put, I must have forgot. Look, I want to start off by talking about this, man. You guys, I'll go over the comments in a little bit here. Box fans in the house, what's going on? Tax Jones over Ruiz at heavyweight. So he's right there. Roy Jones Jr. song, Can't Be Touched, or I must have forgot. What should you like better, Haplotype?
Can't Be Touched is a better song.
Can't Be Touched.
People remember
right.
Must have forgot more for some reason.
Yeah, like the bars aren't all that, but it's all facts though. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like he's saying the truth, but I don't know. But I don't know, man. It's one thing he does have. The dude had charisma, man. He really did. Like to this day. But
unbelievable.
I want to talk about one of the darkest days in Olympic boxing history, right? And that's when they blatantly, blatantly just said they robbed him. I mean, there's no other way to put it. All right. There was already talks about, and I saw Scrapbook post it, then he recanted his statement. So I guess he'll put it on in a little bit. Maybe there is an issue with typos, but man, I must have forgot what I was going to say. But anyway, there was some issues with the scoring and that whole Olympics, all right, and that entire Olympics. Not to dive too much into that. They I don't know how anyone with any a 4-year-old could have told you that Roy Jones won that fight. So what are your thoughts, man, on the robbery, Haplotype?
It's definitely one of the worst robberies I've ever seen in my life. Of course, he was fighting against a Korean guy for the gold medal in Korea. Park Si-hoon was the guy's name, and they were giving Korean guys the benefit of the doubt as sometimes they do in Olympics. But you watch the fight and you're just baffled to know that, I mean, Roy Jones more than doubled his landed punches. He buckled the guy like 5 or 6 times in the fight. And, the other guy maybe landed 3 good punches on Roy Jones. Of course, those were the 3 points that he got. And the
Didn't Roy get like
score,
two, like eight,
2 points. 2 points. He got 3-2 was the score in terms of
what?
Olympic scoring. But I mean, everybody who saw that fight knows that Roy Jones beat the living ass out of this guy,
Right.
and it was just tragic. And the thing that really hurt me was after they announced it, and Roy was walking out, and he kept putting the towel over his face, and he was crying, and like he just really deserved that gold medal, man. I mean, people say that Mayweather got robbed in his attempt to, get into the finals at the Olympics, but that fight was way closer than this. It wasn't even, it wasn't even funny. Like this was just a blowout, and they just robbed him.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's the worst robbery in boxing history.
It
You
could
know that.
be. It could be. I can't think of a worse one off the top of my head.
But 32. How did they base that scoring? Like, what would they base it on?
Well, the scoring in the Olympics is done by, points in terms of they have a bunch of guys watching, and they all have to press a button at a
Well,
certain
well,
time.
that's actually the system they came up with after this fight.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. Well, I do know that yeah, I think at this one they had 3 judges. But the 3 judges that ruled it against Jones all got, suspended after that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think two of them got banned for life. If I had a New York Times article earlier, I didn't get the full time to read it all, but I think one judge said that he knew Roy won, but he felt like he was going to win anyway, so he gave it to the Korean guy because he didn't want Korea to get embarrassed or like I don't know, man.
It was
It,
clearly home cooking. Absolutely.
yeah, there was some rumors about bribes and just flat out bribes. So it was definitely. I also read into a couple years ago about that there was like 50 like Korean monks that went to go apologize to Roy on behalf of their country or something like that.
That's nice of them, but it doesn't give him the gold medal that he deserved.
Yeah. What do you think of the guy not giving Roy the medal?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you're allowed to do that. I don't know what the rules are with that.
Yeah.
If it was me, I would have.
What are they gonna do? Like go arrest him because he gave Roy the medal?
Well, I don't know. He didn't get the glory of standing up there and hearing the national anthem and all that for his win, and it was very sad.
And tax hike, yes, it was way worse than Chavez, the Chavez Pee Wee draw. Yes, this was not competitive at all. Like if you looked at this fight, there's you can't even make an argument for it. Like there's not even like I understand boxing is subjective and all that, but I just don't. You just can't. It's the opponent knew he lost. The referee knew that he lost. The judges knew that Roy was the winner. Everybody knew this. You know what I mean? So yes, this is the worst robbery ever. I can't think of a worse robbery.
Yeah, I can't either. I'm sure there is one, but I just can't think of it off the top of my head.
Yeah, they named Roy the most outstanding boxer of the Olympics. And he was. And honestly,
he was incredible in that fight. That was amazing.
yeah. Brett says the Olympics is fake anyway. It's for political. I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously it is corrupt, but I wouldn't go that far.
It matters to these guys' careers, though. So I think he still got the same treatment in terms of a career that he would have gotten with the gold medal, because he went on and had 17 KOs in a row when he turned pro, and
Okay.
he got a lot of attention the same way he probably would have, but there's just something about that gold medal, when guys like Leonard and De La Hoya win it, and they get to like really
Andre
show.
Ward.
Yeah, Andre Ward. It's just something about it.
Yeah. It's kind of like what imagine watching, like, the best way I could put it to you guys. Mayweather, Robert Guerrero, and then Guerrero got the win. To me, that's the best way I could put it to you. Okay. But with that said, and I found that his scrapbook said he meant to say Arthur Mercante 80th birthday.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Fair enough. A lot of great fights. You did mention one off air the first time Roy Jones went the distance, Haplotype.
Yeah, so Roy Jones turns pro. He wins his first 17 pro fights by either KO or TKO. His first decision was against a veteran fighter named Jorge Castro, who was 73-2. And believe it or not, people, this guy was only 1 year older than Roy Jones, who had 17 pro fights. This guy had 75 pro fights. And he was extremely experienced, very tough. The best way I could relate it to right now would be to say that he was sort of like a Marcos Maidana before Marcos Maidana. He was an Argentinian guy, very tough, pretty fast, threw a lot of punches, and had decent speed, and was just really tough, hard-nosed, grizzled veteran. And Roy Jones Jr., with only 17 pro fights, went in there and went to war. In the first round, Castro came out swinging, like the same way Maidana did against Mayweather. But the difference between Roy Jones Jr. and Mayweather maybe is the way that he handled it wasn't to just wait it out until the guy got tired. He went to war with this guy, and in the second round busts his nose and has him bleeding all over the place, which didn't stop Castro, because Castro then came out and really tried hard to win, because he knew his nose was broken and he had to go for broke in that third round. But Jones handled it. I mean, he was just a special guy. Unbelievable fight. Definitely look up Roy Jones Jr. versus Jorge Castro. It's worth watching. You will not be sorry.
Oh, wait. Castro was 70 wins, 3 losses, 2 draws.
And not only that, 50 KOs.
50 knockouts. And this was Roy's, what was that again? Like 17th fight?
It was his 18th fight.
18th fight?
Yeah.
And that's great. I can't believe that dude had that many fights at that age.
It's unreal. He was
what the hell?
Like 19 times a year or something.
Man, that is insane, bro. Good one for Roy, especially at that point of his career, for sure.
Well, the criticism of him at that time was that he hadn't fought any, really hardcore guys. And this was like his big test. And He did get only a unanimous decision where he had a 100% KO ratio prior to that. But he still definitely won. But it's worth watching. Great fight. 2 great fighters.
Right. Now, he did end up fighting a fighter called Percy Harris for the World Boxing Council, the WBC, of course, America's super middleweight title. That dude never fought again after that fight. So I don't know, man. That was a 4th-round knockout. I don't know how brutal that knockout was, but he called it a day after that. But the fight I want to get to is the Bernard Hopkins fight. That was for the vacant IBF World Middleweight Championship. Hopkins was 22-1 at the time. I don't think many people knew what Hopkins would become. You know what I mean? But this fight, man, Roy, was it alleged or was it confirmed that he fought like one hand was injured? Do you know? Because he said he beat Hopkins with one hand. He said it in the song.
Yeah, I think that might be lore. I've never seen any hard evidence that he had a hand injury. But he definitely beat Hopkins. I mean, clearly, in my mind, The scorecards had him winning, by 4 rounds easily. 116, 112 on all three judges. Um, Unofficial scorecards had it as much as 118, 110. It was just, Hopkins wasn't ready for that kind of problem at that time.
Right. I think it was a really, really good win for Roy. I mean, that's a win that had
It aged well, as
that's
you
yeah,
said.
it aged well, like fine wine. It really did. Um, that fight was in Washington, RF Stadium, Washington. Interesting. A big win for him, man. But the fight, like this fight, James Stoney. All right,
Oh
James Stoney
no.
was 44-0 at the time. All right, and this was an in shape, prime James Stoney.
Yeah, this wasn't the fat, slobby, sweaty
It
James
was at
Toney that
super
we know.
middleweight. This was at super middleweight. Um, a lot of
Well,
people think it's a
Tony
middleweight,
had
but
been the middleweight champion and
yeah,
then moved up into super middleweight, won a title, and it's notable that at this point in Roy's career that he's mostly fighting for the IBF titles. Um,
yeah,
Tony was actually favored to win the fight. Believe it or not, looking back from now, it's hard to believe that, but he was
man.
favored to win the fight, and he was ranked higher than Jones was on the pound for pound list at that time. I think he was number 2, and maybe Jones was number 3 or number 4, if memory serves.
Man. I mean, I'll tell you that what the way he outboxed Tony was some okay, and James Tony is no slouch. James Tony went all the way to heavyweight and beat up Evander Holyfield, bro. Okay, uh, um, just so people understand.
Tony
Eh,
was amazing.
Yeah, but the thing he stole from the cockfighting, when he did that move,
Oh yeah, the rooster pose. That
and
was crazy.
yeah, you know how we talk about, hey, don't show off in the ring, it never ends well. Like Roy would show off in the ring, and it always ended well, right?
Well, he was so good. He could do it.
He got that knockdown on Tony, big deal.
I think so. I mean,
Yeah,
that to me as a signature victory is really hard to beat. In terms of how much he dominated a guy that was that good, it was almost hard to believe when you watch that fight. I think you're watching, to the eye test, maybe one of the best that ever did it.
yeah. We could have been watching probably the most naturally gifted guy to ever do it in
Yeah,
that
I
fight.
think so. I would say that.
It was unbelievable. Brian did absolutely. He was the truth. Um, and you think he pitched a shutout in that fight? Two judges practically gave him every round.
I'd have to rewatch it
Yeah,
again, but from my recollection, I remember that Tony was just not even in the fight, which is hard to believe with James Tony.
yeah, yeah. Tag ass was Roy Jones the most talented athletic fighter of all time.
I'd have to say yes.
I agree.
With the gifts, natural gifts, I'd say he had the most.
Yeah, like Roy had things you just can't teach a guy. Like you can't. You know, and he was underrated as a boxer as well. Like but
I have to say, I think it's a shame that guys who are just sort of getting into watching boxing now
yeah,
don't get to appreciate how it was when we were kids and we were watching Roy Jones come up, because I mean at that time, like, you couldn't believe your eyes. Like now they think of him getting knocked out here, him getting knocked out there. He just stayed in the game too long, in my opinion.
yeah,
He kind of ruined a little bit of his legacy, but that's why we're doing Appreciation Week, to
yeah,
sort of you know make people aware this was the most naturally gifted fighter of all time, in my opinion.
yeah. And the scrapbook said, "What's the fight that Roy Jones that he fought after a basketball game?" I don't know. I remember there was one fight where his trainer told him, "Hey, man, we got to go to the party. The party's about to start." Something like that. And he went out and knocked the dude out. Like, I just remember watching that, and I was like, hey man, take it too long. The party's about to start right now. We're gonna be late. And then, like he went. I don't know. I don't even know what fight that was. I got to look it up for later in the week. But he went and knocked the dude out. Like I remember being amazed when I was a kid. That just amazed me. You
Yeah, I
know?
remember that too. And I remember that he was at a basketball game and then went to a fight. But I can't for the life of me remember who the opponent was that night. But that I definitely recall that. They showed it when they were showing the fight, him leaving like the basketball game and going in, going to the fight.
Oh.
Pretty crazy.
AJ10 brought up, too bad we didn't see Roy Jones versus Chris Eubank. Absolutely. Tax.
The one I think that it's too bad we never saw was Roy Jones versus Miklashevsky, because that really should have happened. That was
Definitely
important because you had Miklashevsky, the lineal champion, with the WBO title and the IBF title. The IBF strips Miklashevsky, puts it up on the line for Jones because Miklashevsky's refusing to fight somebody. I forget who it was. And, Roy Jones never became the lineal light heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
Because of that. So
he was just considered the best, but I know what you mean. Yeah, that would have been a good fight.
A feather in his cap. It would have been a good fight, and they were both really good. I think Roy Jones would have won that fight, but you never know because it didn't happen. You can't give him credit for a fight that he never had, and I think it was sad that he never got to be lineal. But I always use that as an example of why undisputed is better than lineal. Whenever someone gets into that argument with me, right there, that's where you go. Roy Jones, Miklashevsky.
Yeah. Cornbread, Roy Jones Jr. fights were damn fun to watch. Absolutely. But Boxing Dialogue, Eric Lucas was his opponent. Is that the one he played basketball with? Right. Box Stacked, Roy was a great body puncher, too. Crazy hooks to the body. Underrated aspect of his arsenal. Absolutely. Eric Lucas was in 96. His Boxing Dialogue. Chief Funk 84 is the body shot on Virgil Hill. Scrapbook Boxing, Roy Jones defeated a very good friend of mine, RIP Stephen Johnson, at 156 pounds. Amazing hand speed. Right. Well, rest in peace to dear friend, man. Rest in peace to all great fighters that have the courage to get in that ring. Brian David says, Roy never forgot Mike McCallum. Well, there you go. At 160 Haplotype or 168. Who beats Roy in those weight classes in the history? When he fought in those weight classes. 160, I love Sugar Ray Robinson, but I don't think he beats Roy.
Wow. That would be a tough one. I don't know. I might give the edge to Robinson in that.
Okay.
Just because he was so, so good. And
you don't think Roy could pull it off? I think Roy could pull it off.
It'd be
maybe not like a 5-fight series of Robinson, but one fight.
One fight, yeah. I guess Roy Jones could beat almost anybody at 160 or 168 in history.
Yeah.
Especially at 168, I'd probably favor him against anybody.
What about 168? 168 is a very young division, so we don't even have to go that far, bro. I think he blows anybody out. Like that's including. I like Andre Ward. He beats Andre Ward at 168. He beats Calazaghe at 168. I don't. People will make a lot of that fight at 175, but that was a way past prime Roy Jones. That was a Roy that's been put asleep by Johnson and Tarver. So, that had jumped up in weight, and we'll talk about that later in the week with John Ruiz. But I don't know if anybody beats him.
Well, he had 5 title defenses at 168. He was pretty solid there. I mean, you can't say anyone would beat him. I think he was just too good at that time when he was in that division.
Yeah, man. I don't know if anybody beats him at 168. I
mean, let's talk about 175. I mean, who beats him at 175? That to me was his premier division.
Yeah. Of all time, like in his prime, 175. because he got beat at 175, but in his prime. um,
Well, he got beat. He got beat after coming down from
yeah.
heavyweight, but he never got beat before that.
Brian doesn't think Roy beats Mike McCallum.
Well, Roy did beat Mike McCallum, so
Don't be
that
like,
was
or maybe I misread that. Roy, don't be like Mike McCallum. I'm not sure what you
oh
mean, Brandon. Sorry, but how would
yeah.
Roy?
He beat Mike McCallum by unanimous decision
I
for
think
the.
Roy at 160 beats Hagler. I think he beats. That's me.
That's
What about
tough.
Roy against Hearns at 160?
At 160,
Yeah, I mean Roy's not going to fight him at welterweight. I mean,
right?
but
Well, I mean, Hearns moved up to 175 too. Um, yeah,
I think Hearns has a better
160.
shot at 160.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Those are tough calls, man. I don't want to say because I love all these guys that
Hey,
people are
Boxing all that
naming.
good. Put a really good one. Michael Spinks, Roy Jones, 175.
Roy Jones, easy.
Easy.
Yeah, for
Man,
me,
I think it's a close fight. I think Roy wins, but I'll
too
do it.
fast.
Okay. Yeah. Roy versus Julian Jackson.
Roy.
Roy. Is there anyone, let's make it shorter, anyone you think beats Roy at 175?
Um, Prior to him moving up to heavyweight, no. I think
Yeah.
he may be the greatest light heavyweight ever to do it. But,
Yeah.
there's guys in history that had more storied careers than him. But to me, having in his era with 3 belts, to have that many title defenses of the undisputed belt, 7 title defenses of the undisputed belt. Who has 7 title defenses of undisputed now? Nobody.
Right. I agree. And what is your favorite, before I close out, Haplotype, what some of your any final thoughts and favorite Roy Jones Jr. moments?
Well, I mean, we talked about him. I'm glad I'm on Monday because we got to go over the best part of his career
Right.
and not the later career, which I'm sure you'll get into in the coming part of the week. But I mean, I thought it was unfortunate what happened when he lost his undefeated streak against Montel Griffin, but then he came back and avenged that. It was a dumb move, but some guys get away with hitting guys while they're down, like Pacquiao did against Marquez, and other guys get disqualified, like Roy Jones did. It's just unfortunate that happened. He lost his undefeated streak. I mean, it was also unfortunate that he beat Virgil Hill one fight after Michalczewski, because he would have been the lineal champion had he gotten that fight before Michalczewski.
Right.
But the great wins against McCallum, against Bernard Hopkins, against James Toney. There's all kinds of great stuff. I mean, he really made his mark. The John Ruiz fight, a lot of people say if he had retired after winning that heavyweight title, he'd be considered the greatest of all time. And he'd have an argument there. And even then, he went down and beat Antonio Tarver. He's the only guy to win a heavyweight title and then go back down and win a light heavyweight title again. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that part of his career is just unreal. He's great.
Yeah. The ironic part was Tarver was telling Roy, "Hey, don't make excuses that you moved up and came back down, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And then he made the same excuse when he fought Hopkins and lost, right? But,
Yeah, that's right.
because I was doing the Rocky movie. Like, dude, Roy went up and won the heavyweight championship. You made a Rocky movie, bro. Okay, but I'm just saying. Well said, man. Well said. Roy ducked Gerald McCullum.
McClellan?
McClellan, I'm sorry, yeah. You think he ducked him?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and look again. I can't remember if he did or
Yeah.
not. But I think he would have beat Gerald McClellan anyway. But you can't,
We'll look
you can't
into
give
that.
him credit. You can't give him credit for a fight he didn't have.
Yeah. Roy doesn't get credit for it either, but yeah.
No, either one. I mean,
Right. Okay.
I
see
never
what you mean.
give credit to people who don't fight each other. So, but he fought plenty of great fighters. So there's nothing to be lacking from Roy Jones Jr.
Does he mention the Griffin fight in the song? Must have forgot.
I don't remember.
Boxing Dialogue, Prime Roy versus Kawasaki, Roy wins.
Yeah, Roy, in my opinion.
Kawasaki just had a lot more left when they fought. It's got to be honest.
Kawasaki had a bigger punch before he hurt his hands. I
Yeah.
think that was against what's his name? Oh God, what's that guy? I can't remember right now. Eubank Senior. He hurt his hand in that fight, and then he became a slapper. But I'd pick Roy.
I would pick Roy. I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people out there hate on Kawasaki. Okay, like I'm high on Kawasaki. I am.
I love Kawasaki.
But
he's great.
Prime versus Prime. I think Roy wins. If I'm honest, but everyone has a different opinion about that. People mentioned the hands, that he was a bigger puncher, but my counter to that would be Roy had much better reflexes before. You know what I mean? So, just saying.
Yeah, true. Very true.
So even if he had a harder punch, was he going to catch Floyd? Not Floyd. Roy. Yeah. I don't think he would have.
Kawasaki is pretty fast, but I think the Roy that he would have fought, back in the day, I'm saying prime Roy would beat prime Kawasaki. But that's just my guess. We only know that Kawasaki beat Roy when they were both old.
Right. Well, this top had Roy Jones Jr. eye looking like busted. Yeah, he did. He did beat Roy. He beat him. And Kawasaki didn't stick around for some of those young lions that were coming, though. And I don't blame him. But I think he could have done a little more. I think Kawasaki, in my opinion. But that's another story. That's another guy that could put in appreciation week, by the way. But he didn't retire too long ago. An old Roy dropped him. Actually, didn't Roy hit him with a forearm?
I remember it was an early flash knockdown. It was it was a questionable punch. I can't remember if it was a forearm or what. Or he cuffed him and he kind of fell over. Yeah.
But that wasn't the same. Roy got knocked out by Glenn Johnson, bro. Like not that long before that. He got knocked out by Tarver, lost the third fight to Tarver. I mean, it wasn't the same Roy. You know what I mean? So that's what I'll say about that. All right. With that said, guys, all right. Chris Sam showing up. We're about to close it. You could always go back on archive and listen to the rest of the show. This is DStyleBoxing. This is Haplotype.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Salute to everyone in the chat.
Absolutely. This is Weekend Recap with Haplotype. This is DStyleBoxing. Keep it boxing. I'm out.